If you ever happen to dive 18 feet into the North Bimini coast, you'll encounter some limestone walls thought to be the entrance into the lost Atlantic city. This apparent lost city is the Bimini Road. The limestone slabs are one of the greatest controversies of all time. Is the Bimini Road a natural rock formation or the ruined highway of the lost city of Atlantis? Welcome to Mystery. Today we'll be answering that famous historical multi-million-dollar question, although we might have to delve a little into Greek mythology. The Bimini Road, sometimes called the Bimini Wall, is actually a rock formation made of limestone found underneath the Atlantic Ocean. To be precise, it's found pretty close to the Bahamas, North Bimini Island to be precise. Back in 1968, on September 2nd, Joseph Manson Valentine, Jacques Mayol, and Robert Angove were diving in about 18 feet of water off the northwest coast of North Bimini Island. What they stumbled upon was a kind of pavement made of rounded stones of different sizes. This pavement was eventually called the Bimini Road, or Bimini Wall. This underwater discovery forms a straight line going from northeast to southwest. There are also two similar lines close to the shore, running parallel to the Bimini Wall. Now, the length of this road from northeast to southwest is 0.8 kilometers, comprised of large rectangular blocks. These limestone rocks actually stretch over half a mile along the shallow Bimini western shores. The peculiarity of these rocks is why scientists associate them with the lost city of Atlantis. I guess we can't talk about the Bimini Road without traveling back in time a little into Atlantis. So if you're familiar with the fairy tale Little Mermaid or even DC's Aquaman, you might notice traces in their narrative that refer to an actual city underneath the ocean. Well, it's not all fantasy. There might be a hint of truth in these stories. The lost Atlantis city might have actually existed. Now, if you ask some scientists or historians, they'll most likely say that it was not real and it was all in Plato's head. But have you ever stopped to wonder how Plato just randomly came up with such a brilliant idea? So, here's the backstory, or rather, a love story. Long ago, when the Greek gods ruled the earth, Poseidon, after roaming the earth, fell in love with a beautiful mortal woman whose name was Cleito. Like any other baby boy in love, he wanted to do something extraordinary to express his love to his beloved. So he built a city in the Bermuda Triangle on the ocean where mortals could live. In fact, when they started having kids, their firstborn, Atlas, was the first king of Atlantis. Who could have thought that the almighty Poseidon was a hopeless romantic? The story sounds pretty cool and very believable, but scientists keep arguing that it's all false. You might be wondering what the Bimini Road has to do with all this. The Bimini Road was first discovered in 1968 by three archaeologists who specialize in underwater research. They were the first person to discover this series of limestone blocks laid out in a linear pattern. If you look at the Bimini closely, you'll see that it actually looks like a paved road. And if you zoom in further, you will notice that these rocks are obviously man-made. The only flaw is that they do not show chisel marks. Because they lack these marks, researchers have concluded that they are natural. Why did they make such a biased judgment? If it is truly natural, how do you explain the perfect positioning of these blocks? Seems like some scientists were in a hurry to decide that the rocks are natural in order to quickly wrap up the case and leave, and we know why. Admitting that the Bimini Wall is man-made will debunk all the lies they've told us about the lost Atlantis city being a myth. So in order to protect their reputation, they have said that the obviously man-made Bimini Wall is natural. Some theories even say that the Bimini Road was probably made by the demigods. That's why it's man-made without chisel marks. If the almighty Poseidon could fall in love with a mere mortal, then anything is possible. So here's the lowdown on the Bimini Wall and its crew of linear, flat, tabular, and kind of wonky blocks. People tend to go a bit overboard in describing how neat and tidy these blocks are. Let's just say they're not as perfect as some make them out to be. It's a mix of stone blocks, some as hefty as 3-4 meters, 10-13 feet horizontally, averaging around 2-3 meters, 7-10 feet. The bigger blocks have these cool matching edges, while the smaller ones don't. Now the two smaller gang members by the shore, about 50 and 60 meters long, are rocking smaller tabular stone blocks, just 1-2 meters wide, like giant loaves of bread with rounded corners. These blocks are made of beach rock, a local Bahamian material composed of carbonate cemented shell hash. And the roundness of these blocks screams erosion party. Nature's been doing its thing, wearing down the surface. So what are the chances of finding ancient tool marks or inscriptions surviving all that wear and tear? Highly unlikely. So geologists like Gifford and Ball put their detective hats on and dug into the Bimini Road scene. Here's what they found. Down at the southwest end, the three features are kind of doing their own thing. No clear connection. Sure, there are scattered blocks, and they do not join at any point up to form a smooth line from sea to shore. There were no signs of blocks neatly piling on top of each other, not even a single block sitting squarely on another. No stacking game happening here. There aren't enough blocks hanging around to suggest there was once a second layer of rocks that got wiped out. The bedrock is right beneath the whole shebang, ruling out any secret tunnels or channels between the features. The inner and middle features seem to have always been chilling on a bed of loose sand, no cutting into or anchoring to the bedrock. And for the blocks on the seaward feature sitting directly on the bedrock, no regular or symmetrical support is found under any of them. There were also no signs of groovy tool marks or repeated patterns on any of the blocks. The inner and middle features are buddies for about 50 meters or 160 feet, but after that it's a bit of a solo journey for the seaward feature. It stretches farther, but it's not sturdy enough to be a legit highway or something. Yet Edgar Cayce, the famous American clairvoyant, long ago once predicted that Atlantis would be found near Bimini. Fast forward to a few years later, the Bimini Road was found. The story does not add up. Now here's where it gets interesting. Not everyone is on the same page with Gifford and Ball's observations. There's a bit of a disagreement in the detective squad. Some investigators argue that in the spots where the sand has taken a vacation between the seams, you can actually spot another layer of blocks. And guess what? Tiny blocks are hanging out underneath them. So it's like a he said, she said situation. While Gifford and Ball are throwing shade at the lack of clear connections and block stacking parties, these other investigators are pointing fingers at places where sand has revealed a hidden layer game. It's a mystery party down there in Bimini. All these discoveries, from the Great Sphinx to the Bimini, make it clearer and clearer by the day that something's off. Something is just not right. If you connect the dots, you'll find it pretty obvious that long before us, there might have been advanced civilizations on this planet. Do scientists see this too? Are they trying to hide the truth from us? The big question is, why? There are so many secrets hidden underneath history, but they will be almost impossible to cover with the crop of scientists we have. They might be lying to us, but what are they really trying to hide? There are too many reasons, stories, myths, folklore, and philosophies that point to the existence of Atlantis. But if you ask any scientist, they will tell you that it never existed just because of the tectonic plates. So, if you don't already know, the actual reason for debunking the existence of Atlantis is the tectonic plates. If the continents had drifted, then the seafloor should have contracted with time. Instead, the seafloor has expanded and spread more and more with time, leaving no place for the Atlantic to actually sink into. Ked Feder, an emeritus professor of archaeology, further emphasized this, saying, "The geology is clear. There could have been no large land surface that then sank in the area where Plato places Atlantis." Together, modern archaeology and geology provide an unambiguous verdict. There was no Atlantic continent. There was no great civilization called Atlantis. That is a strong allegation if you ask me. One last plot twist. A marine archaeologist, Robert Marks, spilled some beans, sharing that Carl H. Holm, the president of Global Oceanic, once steered the ship design game at North American Rockwell and had a strong hunch. According to Holm, there's little doubt that those massive stone blocks were crafted by human hands. But wait, there's more to this drama. Turns out Holm was part of a squad sponsored by North American Rockwell, led by none other than Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, with a crew that included Dmitry Rebekov and a bunch of psychics from the Edgar Cayce Foundation. Talk about an electric team. But Holm isn't alone in his theories. There's a league of investigators who believe the Bimini undersea formation is more human-made than just your average beach rock. The squad includes Joseph Manson Valentine, the zoologist, Graham Hancock, Charles Berlitz, the linguist, Greg Little, the psychologist, R. Cedric Leonard, the anthropologist, and Dmitry Rebekov, the French marine engineer. They all claim to have investigated these formations in person and swear that they've spotted more than one layer of blocks hanging around, at least in some spots. Over the years, theories upon theories, postulations upon postulations, and myriads of speculations have emerged. Some researchers even claimed that the Atlantic was a guardian of some secret knowledge, hence the debunking of the connecting Bimini walls to the city. If the truth behind the limestones are revealed, lots and lots of ancient secrets will be revealed, and that won't look pretty for the higher-ups, or rather, the custodians of these secrets. Was Atlantis City really a guardian of secret knowledge? Was it really a representation of a deity that we have lost to time? Where does that leave the Bimini Road? Lots of unanswered questions with uncertainty, although one thing's for sure, there's a lot we don't know about the Bimini Road. Alright friends, don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned for our future historical explorations. And most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters in this quest for historical truth. Thank you for joining us today on Mystery, where the past unveils its secrets.